The Secrets of Lavenham. In the quiet and picturesque village of Lavenham, nestled deep in the English countryside, life moved at a slow and steady pace. Its cobbled streets, centuries-old timber-framed houses, and rolling green hills seemed like the perfect setting for an idyllic existence. It was a place where newcomers were rare, and everyone knew everyone else. But beneath this serene exterior, Lavenham had its share of secrets. Among the residents was a man named Sean King. He lived in a small cottage at the edge of the village, near the woods, where the shadows seemed to linger longer than anywhere else. Sean was a peculiar figure, often seen wandering alone, his gaze distant, his clothes disheveled. The villagers thought little of him, perhaps just a man who had lost his way in life. But there was something unsettling about Sean, a presence that made people uneasy. He had always kept to himself, until the day the Hartwell family arrived. They were new to Lavenham, having moved into one of the larger, more modern homes at the village's center. With them came their daughter, Isla, a striking young woman in her early 20s, with dark, wavy hair and eyes that seemed to hold stories of their own. Her arrival sparked excitement among the local boys and curiosity among the town's older residents. For Sean, however, Isla was more than just a new face. From the moment he first saw her, something shifted inside him. She was different, radiant, and in his mind, she didn't belong in Lavenham. She was a mystery to him, and Sean had a fascination for mysteries. It started small, just an innocent glance here and there. He'd catch a glimpse of her walking down the street, shopping at the local market, or reading by the window of her home. But as the days passed, Sean's glances turned into something more, something darker. He began to follow her, silently, blending into the shadows, always keeping his distance, but never letting her out of his sight. He was careful not to be noticed. But in a village as small as Lavenham, secrets rarely stayed hidden for long. One evening, Isla decided to explore the woods near her house, drawn by the tranquility they promised. As she wandered along the path, she felt the stillness of the air, the kind that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. She wasn't alone. At first, it was just a feeling, an instinct that someone was watching her. She stopped, glancing over her shoulder, but saw nothing. Just the wind, she told herself. But it wasn't the wind. It was Sean. He had been following her for days now, always keeping his distance, watching her every move, learning her routine. But this time, he couldn't resist. He stepped closer, the leaves crunching under his feet. Isla froze, her breath caught in her throat. She turned slowly, scanning the trees, but Sean had already disappeared into the underbrush. She quickened her pace, her heart racing. It was the first time she felt fear in this peaceful village, and she couldn't shake it off. The next few days were strange. Isla kept seeing Sean, not close enough to confront, but always nearby, always watching. He would be at the market when she went shopping, sitting on a bench near her home, or walking down the same path she took to the library. She told her parents about him, but they dismissed it as her imagination. "He's harmless," her father said. "A bit odd, but nothing to worry about." But Isla knew better. There was something wrong with Sean King. She felt it in her bones. As the days passed, Sean's obsession grew. He started leaving notes in her mailbox, cryptic messages that made no sense. "I know who you are," one said. Another simply read, "We belong together." Each note was signed only with his initials, SK. Isla began to panic. She didn't know what he wanted, but she knew she had to do something. One evening, after finding another note tucked under her front door, she decided to confront him. Armed with nothing but her courage, she headed to his cottage at the edge of the village. When she arrived, The place was as strange as she'd imagined, unkempt and overgrown, with thick vines crawling up the walls. She knocked on the door, but there was no answer. After a few moments, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The interior was dark and cluttered, with old furniture covered in dust. But it wasn't the mess that caught her attention. It was the walls. They were covered in photographs of her. Every moment of her life in Lavenham was documented, from the day she and her family arrived to her walks in the woods, to her most private moments. A sickening realization washed over her. Sean had been watching her every move. Suddenly, there was a creak from upstairs. Isla's heart pounded in her chest. She turned to leave, but it was too late. Sean was standing in the doorway, his eyes wide with shock. "I didn't mean to scare you," he whispered, stepping closer. "I just wanted to protect you." "Protect me?" Isla's voice trembled. "From what?" "From them," he said, his gaze shifting to the window. "They're always watching. You're special, Isla. They want you, but I won't let them take you." Terrified, Isla bolted past him and out of the cottage, running as fast as she could toward home. Sean didn't follow. He just watched her go, his face unreadable. That night, the village seemed darker than ever. Isla locked every door and window, praying for morning. But sleep didn't come easily. And though she never saw Sean again, the memory of his watchful eyes haunted her long after. Some say Sean King disappeared into the woods after that night, vanishing without a trace. Others believe he's still out there, watching from the shadows, waiting. But for Isla, Lavenham would never be the same. The village was beautiful, yes, but it held secrets, and some secrets were best left forgotten. End of part 1 of the story.